he seems to have just chanced upon the best money that has ever been invented. I don't think he set out to do this in as much as it was to build a payment network that is resistant to censorship. That was the main objective. But in order to make that work, he needed to think about money from first principles, and he needed to think about how do I get the supply of money to optimize for the functioning of this payment network. And because of that, he came to the conclusion of the best monetary asset that we've ever had, which I think is an enormously, enormously significant invention, because now everybody in the world can save in a form of money that's resistant to inflation.
So if you don't know who this is Saifedean Amos, the author of the Bitcoin Standard, and he's sitting here telling you why Bitcoin is the best form of money that Satoshi gave us. Pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes. We got a jam-packed video today. Before we get to any of that, what's happening Crypto Crew? Sean's coming back at you with another cryptocurrency video. Getting straight into it. Look at this chart here. Shout out to Christian Scheifel. Check him out on X. And he's on YouTube, puts out some alpha. And look at these cycles. So you got 25, 50-day cycles. So right here, you have the pullbacks, the bear market, then you got the blast off, brief intermission with a continuation to the blast off. And then you have the bear market once again, lasting about 25, 50 days. So if we get out our calculator, 25, 50 days, how long do these cycles last? That's about a 7-year window. So this next 7 years isn't going to end until January of 2028. So we got one more leg up possibly. As you see here, when you look at the previous peaks that were occurred before the bear market rolled in, if you look and go to the right, well, let's look back here in 2014, the 21 7-year cycle. So this was sort of like towards the previous peak. So you put 1, 2, and then a blow off top in. Do the same thing here. You know, that's sort of this new previous peak, which we had a pullback. That's equivalent to about right here before we had those 3 humps. And right now we got 1, 2, and we could be getting ready to see that blow off until the end of this year, early 2021 or early 2026. And then that intermission period where we get that pullback before we get that continuation to the upside before resetting the 7-year window. Either way you cut the cloth, Bitcoin is still bullish. And looking at Bitcoin, the current time it's recording, we're looking at 115.5K. What do we see? What do we anticipate? So these red lines are channels. And as you see, you know, this channel has been respected, you know, it acted as resistance here, and then it acts as support, and then there's, you know, lower level channels, support. When we fall through, we hit our head, resistance, come back up, support or resistance, then more support, fall through, and then we had this lower level line here where we came up, tried to get back into this channel, hit resistance twice, and now with a third time be a charm. But looking at this price action here, if we do come up to this range, this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. This is the white line, and if we just look and see where this white line could be going by the end of the year, that would take us up to about 183,000. Hit the technical target, we could extend up over 200,000. But either way you cut the cloth, looks like 200 could be priced in. And then looking at the fib extensions, the 1.618, we're sitting above comfortably. We hit our head on it once, twice, 3 times, got rejected. We haven't came all the way back down and back tested it. Does that need to happen? Not necessarily. We could be just waiting to, you know, see this higher price action play out. But the next level to pay attention to is that 2.618, which aligns almost perfectly with this intersection around November of this year. So could Q4 get really bullish, and could this start to play out? Could we hit this technical target? Potentially. There's a lot of bullishness in the markets. Could we end up getting a pullback before this blast off? A lot of things are on the table. Pay attention. But looking at this cycle indicator as well from Decode Jar, shout out to him. This is his custom Decode macro trend oscillator, and it's pretty simple. You know, when it gets back up to these ranges, this is when the peaks are in, and the fun hasn't even begun as of now. We haven't even seen this green section yet from this halving cycle. And if you look at this, this looks like this could be sometime in Q1 of next year when this cycle peak could occur. And every time it flips green, let's see where we went from. We went from roughly around 13 to 15,000 up to ultimately 69,000. And then when we flipped green here, this went from roughly around 1,000 to 20,000. So it's a 20x and roughly a little over 5x. So what could we do right here? Could we hit a double, hit a 2x before ultimately getting that rollover into 2027? You be the judge. Tech Dev is weighing in and showing as well. What the red area is indicating is the business cycle BC peaks. So that's when Bitcoin peaks. We're not even in that range yet, but note the red comes after every green area. This is a huge consolidation area for Bitcoin. The bear market are the purple range. Green is the bull market ramp up, and then the bull market parabola. We haven't seen that parabolic phase just quite yet. Be prepared. And Bitcoin is once again trading in a channel. And are we going to get that blast up to enter that red area to get that parabolic run up? And how long will it last? There's a lot of variables. 2026 could actually end up being bullish. Now, looking at Metaplanet, MTPLF, the Metaplanet price has been melting down to $4.30. Now, this is a huge buying opportunity. Could Metaplanet go lower? Yes, it definitely could. But right now we think that this potentially the bottom could be near or in. If we look at these bottoms out here, there's not much price action to go off of because the MTPLF, the OTC US ticker just came out late last year. We've just been establishing this support. We haven't came back down to that right now, which is around 370 to 380. Can we get a wick below and come lower, like down to the 250 range? That'd be an ultimate load up zone, 100%. But, it seems like we're just sort of coming into this in a bullish fashion, maybe trading, some way. It could look like this. It could just be established in this channel, come down here, and then sort of get a rally up. Maybe this will last retest before we have a continuation to the upside. Or we could break through this and come back down and trade in these channels for some time. Something to pay attention to. Richard Byworth, shout out to him, friend of the channel. Interesting results. Demonstrate sentiment is extremely low and fearful. As a reminder, MSTR bounced at a 4x at 10x the market cap after trading sub 1x in the bear. So what's this mean? After trading sub 1x MNAV in the bear market, it returned. So right now he's comparing this to Metaplanet. That's what he's talking about here when the short squeeze. He made a poll. Let's show the poll. Right here it says, when are we going to have this squeeze? Where are we going to as far as MNAV goes? So most people are voting for 3x. MicroStrategy, which had a lot more Bitcoin, at the time, they went back to a 4x. That's basically what he's saying in that previous post. So right here, if we look at what he's actually talking about, he's talking about the depths right down here. This is when we were sub 1 MNAV. And then look what happened. We went from a low of about, this is a post split 1326, so $136, and then went up over 3,200%. That's a 32x from this bottom. So do the math. If Metaplanet did a 32x, around 430, we can do it really quick. At the last close was $4.30. You're looking at a $137 price target. Is this in the realm of possibility? Most likely they have to continue their Bitcoin accumulation strategy, but in these depths are where you want to be allocating more. And if you look at this blow off top, this is like an ABC correction, base out before we see the blast out. So right here, we potentially could see this ABC correction playing out before we ultimately see the blast out over the next 2 years. The time frame didn't take that long. It was 692 days, a little less than 2 years from now. So this is within the depths of the bear market and current price action into 2024 as the Bitcoin halving year. So it's all indicative of what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin continues to go up over the next years, it's extremely bullish for Metaplanet as well. And then right here, look at this math, the preferred math. So you got 30,000 Bitcoin at 120,000, at $3.6 billion, up to 25% for the preferreds. You're looking at an extra 900 million. So you do the math, around 120,000 Bitcoin, depending on when they get that 900 million, it's around that 7,500 more Bitcoin. So you're looking at $3.6 billion, which is 30,000 total Bitcoin on balance sheet. And then Metaplanet can easily pay the 54 million for basically that preferred offering. So pay attention. This is something they can easily do. 54 million a year is water under the bridge compared to the money they're playing with. And if you look at this here, you can see Metaplanet's price that is priced in Bitcoin, not US dollars. And what is the trend? The trend is putting in higher highs and higher lows. You've seen that euphoric, peak right there. Right now we're in this, pullback area. But even where we are right now, if you sort of, let's pause this right here when we get back down to this range. Let's see. And you can see, like, if you draw a line here, we're almost getting back down to where that macro support would be. Metaplanet is continuously putting in higher highs and higher lows. Long term, this is not a get rich quick scheme, guys. Long term is when this is going to see, a huge appreciation in Bitcoin terms, or Bitcoin per share, because this company is aggressively accumulating Bitcoin. And right here, Justin, Galaxy Digital's Alex Lawrence says there's a strong chance the U.S. will announce a strategic Bitcoin reserve this year. Lawmakers continue to make progress introducing the bill as fastly as last week. So this is definitely something to pay attention to, because you're getting this in parallel with rate cuts. There's potentially about 3 to 6 rate cuts that could happen over this next 6 months. So what does that mean for markets? That means more liquidity is getting into the markets, risk on is back, and that could mean parabolicness for Bitcoin. And Anthony Pompliano is interviewing Jordy Visser, and let's hear what Jordy has to say about what he sees for Bitcoin coming into the end of this year. Let's check it out.
Any updated thoughts on Bitcoin? I like the way the charts are starting to play out. I think this was an important month because I wanted to see if it finally responded to good news. But it's the ecosystem, the broader things. I'm seeing a lot of mini breakouts technically right now. And these are just small things for me. But we talked about Ethereum when it got through 4,000. What I really wanted to see was Ethereum got through 4,000. Now it's been consolidating between 4 and 5. Great. All-time highs are up around 5. Once it actually breaks through and goes, we need the entire ecosystem to be going. And that means Dogecoin needs to be going. And Sui needs to be going. And other parts that are showing up. And each of them has they're all moving in a synchronized manner right now. So I think there's going to be a chase in these things that is going to start. I'm still, like I said, I'm not worried about Bitcoin a year from now. I'm not worried. I was already wrong on how far I thought it would be this year, but I still think before now and the end of the year, with what's happening on stocks, and they kind of have a little melt up look to them, we still don't have sentiment at high enough levels. So I think between now and the end of the year, if I'm right about the PMIs, I think Bitcoin will still get up. I'm not going to put any more levels on because it's not going to where I thought 3 months ago. But everything's starting to look like it's starting to move higher.